Hi, my lovely friends. It's very tempting, especially when you're an indie author, that you think you're going to be allowed to break the genre rules or the rules of a specific genre. And while it might be very tempting, and you might even feel like a bit of a rebel as you do it, when it comes to marketing your book, you may have made a humongous mistake. If you think this might be you or somebody you know, then you might want to listen on. Knowing your genre, I have plugged, like if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I'm very insistent that you need to know your genre and you need to stay in your lane. Now, this doesn't mean you can't write other books in other genres or anything else like that. But when it comes to writing and marketing your book, it is really key to know your readers' I'll get that word out in a minute. Expectations when you put the book out. Knowing your genre also helps when you come to market your book, which of course is something that you are doing while you're not only writing the book, but in that period of time leading up to putting the book out. For example, this past week, I just put out my book, Anton Victor. It's The Psychic and the Vampire, but it's book 2, A Bad Case of Vampire Curiosity. And my book is clearly paranormal because it includes a vampire and a mage or a psychic. It is a fated mate's story. And I also indicate in my marketing that book 1 needs to be read first. This is a sequel book. And the thing is when my readers come to see that book in their social media or whatever else and think, oh, Lisa's got another book out. Oh, yeah, I remember reading that book earlier this year. Time for a reread. I'm ready for the sequel. My readers know what to expect. When I tell them I'm going to put something out, they know what to expect from my books. Now, as a debut author, you may be thinking, well, I'm forging a new path. I'm doing my own thing here. And all power to you. I think that's incredible. But again, the issue comes if you don't match your marketing with your actual story. And unfortunately, marketing a book that is, say, for example, a cross between science fiction meets cozy mystery meets, I don't know, tentacle porn. Okay, perhaps not tentacle porn, but you know what I mean. Your book needs a genre. And all 3 of those things, believe it or not, are all different genres. They're all completely different from each other, and they all require, they need to fit a reader's expectations for that genre. I was watching a couple of videos in this past week that mentioned about that. Reads with Rachel mentioned it in connection with cozy mystery, or a cozy mystery that she had been, or I think it was just a cozy book that she had been recommended. It might have been a cozy fantasy, perhaps. But she had picked out in the books that she was, reviewing, that it definitely wasn't cozy. And that can be a real shock to people if they go in expecting a cozy experience when in fact there is violence on page, there is sex on page, and there's nothing cozy about that. There's definitely a market for those sorts of books, but labeling it as cozy, marketing it as such in terms of the cover and the way you describe the book, it can then be a real jolting experience for the reader if they open it up and they realize it's not quite as cozy as was implied. You may feel that, readers are just, they're overreacting. They're too sensitive. No, my little precious. They are not. They are the people who pay your bills. So if you tell your readers, your potential readers, that you have got a cozy book coming out, it had better be cozy. The same applies for young adult. Young adult was flooded for years. It became quite a thing because authors realized that it was an under-recognized market. So we're thinking, oh my goodness, these young people are reading. We'd better give them something to read. But then they were giving them characters which were well into their 20s, 30s, and sometimes hundreds of years old, who were all engaging in practices that were not suitable for young adults. Again, you may think you're breaking the mold. You may think you're going to become an outlier in that genre because you've done something different. But what you've done is you've deceived the people who trusted you enough to pay for your book. Now, I might sound a little harsh, and I do appreciate that part of the indie author spirit is to write what we want, to be able to write without gateways, to be able to publish without having people telling us that our books don't fit. And I totally agree that you need that freedom to write your stories your way. I am there flying the banner. I am supporting you every step of the way. But when you come to marketing the book, you have to be honest about what is included. You have to be honest about what your reader can expect. Now, some of the ways that you can do this is sharing snippets, sharing chapters is another good idea. Not all of them, obviously, you want people to buy. But if you're sharing a few chapters, people can get a gist of your style. They can see where those differences might be. And that can be helpful. But if you take a book that is full of violence and intimate moments and everything else, I had a sudden thought. Was I worrying about being demonetized? I'm not even monetized. It's fine. I can keep talking. But yes, if you've got violence and smut on a page, on a book that's meant to be cozy, then yeah, you're going to get some pushback. And that pushback is going to be deserved. I explained at the beginning that when I put my books out, my readers know exactly what to expect. I have been publishing now, as I say, for 11 and a half years. And I don't deviate very much at all from my genre. Well, I do. This is where it comes in. You can write different things. I write paranormal stories. That's where I started. And all the books and all the series that comes with that, they are all clearly marked. That is what they are. In fact, at the bottom of a lot of my descriptions in the blurb on my Amazon pages, you will see this is an or an MMM, paranormal romance story, fated mates. It is adult content. Please store your content responsibly. I put those warnings on my blurb, but my readers, my wonderful, absolutely amazing, loyal readers, know what to expect when they pick up a Lisa Oliver book. And this is the sort of confidence and the sort of following that you want to develop. And you can't do that if you're deceiving your readers from the blurb or the cover. And I think this was a point that Reads with Rachel brought up, was that the content of the book inside the book was so misrepresented by what was on the cover, because the cover screamed cozy, the content did not. And this is where you get bad reviews, you get readers not coming back, you get DNFs, did not finish. And do you really want that for the story that you have worked so hard on? So yes, definitely write the book you want to write. I always say, write the book you want to read. I'm very supportive of that with anybody who does. But when you come to market that story, make sure your marketing explains what your book is and what your readers can expect in the work that you've spent so much time on. That's my only warning today. And believe me, I'm genuinely trying to help. What do you think? Do you think that the genre rules are too rigid? Do you think that it's impossible for people to have their creative freedom if they have to follow genre rules? Like, for example, with mine, with being paranormal romance, and mine are Fated Mates. Now, Fated Mates means very clearly no cheating. Absolutely not even a suggestion. In fact, in my stories, my characters would get sick if they so much as looked at another person the wrong way. That is a rule I stick by. My readers love the fact that I do that. So if I put into one of my stories, because I thought I wanted to spice it up a bit, and I wanted to introduce another character who might have nefarious thoughts about a particular main character, no, absolutely not. There are a shit ton of other books out there that will do that sort of thing. But in the Fated Mate genre, that is sacred. So you don't do it. And I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be shock value. It would probably decimate my career. And besides, I don't believe in cheating anyway. So there we go. But think about your reader. Think about what you're putting out there. Don't just jump onto a trend or a media hype or whatever else and think, oh, if I tie my book in with this trend, then it will sell well. Because you're deceiving your readers. And while they might buy your first book, they will not review it well, and they will not come back and buy the second. So unless you want a one-hit wonder, yeah. And with social media these days, it's so quick for people to quickly put it across BookTok that book wasn't what it was supposed to be. Yeah. I don't think you'd have a career for longer than a week. So please take this as the fair warning that it is. As always, I do want to know what your opinion is below. I'd really like to hear about it. And if you are writing a book that is multi-genre, then how are you going to market that? Let me know the different ways. Let's help this community here, because I'm sure there are people who do write multi-genre stories. Then how are you going to market that? How are you going to play that? How are you going to appeal to your target reader? I would dearly love to know. So, and who knows, maybe we'll get another video out of that too. But in the meantime, I post long form content on Mondays and Thursdays, and I answer all your comments. So I truly appreciate if you'd leave them. A like and a subscribe would be lovely. It would certainly help try and boost this channel. But you know what? We're just having fun here and building a community. And to me, that's the most important thing of all. So I hope you're having an awesome day. Please keep writing, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.